Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Readings with Regina. Now, before I get to the books, I want to share some things with you that I ran into over the weekend. All right, here in Philadelphia. First of all, I went to Black and Noble Bookstore. Yes, if you're in Philadelphia, I strongly urge you to go to South Street. First of all, it's a tourist attraction, South Street, and go to Black and Noble Bookstore. Let me tell you what the brothers gave me. They didn't even know about Readings with Regina. They know about it now. But look what they gave me. Assata buttons. Yes, Assata buttons. Can you see her book? Okay. Let me make sure you can see it. Now, look at that button. That's her book. These are very enlightened brothers, all right? And even before I met the owner, Hakeem, handsome black man, when I walked into the open area inside the store, there was this lovely little Haitian sister. I didn't know she was Haitian. She was just black to me until we started talking. Her name is Francois, and she writes poetry. And she was selling her poetry in the corridor of Black and Noble. I love this. And she even has a children's book. I bought them. Yes, I did. Okay, by Francois. Now, her website is, because I told her I was going to talk about her. Her website is Francois, FRANCOIS books.com. There you go. Because we writers got to support each other. And when I realized that she was Haitian, oh, we really hit it off. Because we talked about Jean Jacques Dessalines. Now, if you don't know about Jean Jacques Dessalines, get my book, Blacks in Race Defense, Killers and Cutthroats. I do a magnificent narrative poem on Jean Jacques Dessalines. Very important Haitian brother. Boom. Okay. One more thing before I get to the books. Marcus Rediker, y'all know Marcus. The slave ship, boom. The slave ship author, well, he wrote a new book called Freedom Ship, The Uncharted History of Escaping Slavery by Sea. Now, I've just started this book. This book is amazing. I'm going to be reading some of this to you because it is all about the black people who escaped bondage by sea. Marcus Rediker got a thing about the sea, man. Okay? I think y'all know that because of the slave ship. And let me tell you who endorsed this book. Edward Baptiste. Y'all remember him. The Half Has Never Been Told. I read about him earlier, either this year, it might have been last year, because I started this series with The Half Has Never Been Told. Slavery and the Making of American Capitalism by Edward Baptiste. And Edward Baptiste is one of the people who wrote a blurb for this fantastic book, Freedom Ship. All right. That's Marcus Rediker at his finest. Now, we know that this is the month of Malcolm, don't we? We know that, right? So I'm going to read to you a clip from Malcolm X, The Last Speeches, okay? When I say the Africans abroad and the Africans here in this country, the man that you call Negro is nothing but an African himself. Why, some of them have been brainwashed into thinking that Africa is a place with no culture, no history, no contribution to civilization or science. So many of these Negroes, they take offense when they're identified with their homeland. But today, we want to point out the different types of Negroes that you have to deal with. That once you know there's more than one type, then you won't come up with just one type solution. and to point out how timely the invitation is or was. I don't want to read newspapers to you, but in the Detroit News dated Thursday, January 17th, this is, by the way, 1963, it told about the Interfaith Council of Religion that was held in Chicago last week. And the topic of their conversation was the race problem here in America. And it pointed out that all of the time that they spent and money that they spent, actually, they didn't get to the meat of the issue. And in this particular copy of the paper, on page 3, the chaplain at Wayne State University actually criticized the efforts of those Protestants, Catholics, and Jews in Chicago last week for failing to bring spokesmen to that conference who really would speak for Black people and spell out issues that were not being spelled out by the others. And I just want to read a recommendation that he made. Mr. Boyd believes that the conference might have accomplished much good if the speakers had included a white supremacist and a Negro race leader, preferably a top man in the American Black Muslim movement. He said that a debate between them would undoubtedly be bitter, but it would accomplish one thing: it would get some of the real issues out into the open. And I think that the man is right. Most of the so called Negroes that you listen to on the race problem usually don't represent any following of Black people. Usually they are Negroes who have been put in that position by the white man himself. And you know what? As I read that, I want you all to think about your supposed race leaders. I mean, do we have race leaders today? I mean, you tell me. All right. Maybe we do. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm playing with you. All right, here we go. I'm getting ready to go to your favorite book by Marcus Rediker. I know it's a bit tedious, but it's important that you know about the slave ship. Very important. Okay. Oh, and I finally got to say your name right. You got ripped off, brother. I did not. I was calling you everything under the sun. Abibi Fahodahe, my brother. I am so glad you're here. And when I realized what your moniker really is, I was like, what is wrong? I was like, you go trip. Anyway, we on the same page. Okay, here we go. All right. Wait a minute. Let me show this because he's responding to Malcolm. These self-hating Negroes will try to kill you for introducing. In fact, many of the people who follow these political. Oh, that's exact. Listen. Oh, you don't know how right you are. All right. Now, okay. Where am I? Okay, here we go. The slave ship. Okay. Marcus Rediker. Here we go. Okay. Two masted vessels were common in the slave trade: the schooner, which emerged from American shipyards in the early 18th century, was exemplified by the Betsy. This is a slave ship, Betsy, sold at public auction at Crafts North Wharf, Charleston, South Carolina, in 1796. It was described as a good double decked vessel, well calculated for a guinea man. Every time I see that word, I just can't get over that. About 90 tons burthen and have been sent to sea immediately, being in good order. The brigantine or brig and the snow, which had the same hull form but different rigging, were especially popular in the slave trade, largely because of their intermediate size. They range from 30 to 150 tons, with the average slaver running to about 100 tons. Vessels of this size often had more actual deck and aerial space per ton than larger ones, as pointed out by Sir Jeremy Fitzpatrick, MD, in 1797. One of the reasons I'm even reading these books to you, do you see how these white statesmen, if you will, or writers, okay, or builders, they wrote books about slave ship. They wrote the slave ship's dimensions. They measured which slave ships were better for whatever series of reasons a buyer who was well off, wealthy, would need for the slave ship. So I really want you to understand the tediousness of these details. Okay? America is built on the foundation of the slave ship. Yes, here we go. According to William Falconer, the compiler of one of the greatest maritime dictionaries of the 18th century, the ship was, quote, the first rank of vessels which are navigated on the ocean, end of quote. It was the largest of the vessels employed in the slave trade, combining good speed and spacious carrying capacity. So when you listen to what's going on at the Strait of Hormuz today between Iran and the United States, we're talking ships. And what are those models based upon? According to this historian and others, the slave ship people, the slave ship. Black people, understand your centrality in the making of this country and the maritime fleet. All right, here I go. Okay. It had 3 masts, each of which carried a lower mast, a top mast, and likely a top gallant mast. As a man of war, the ship was something of a, quote, movable fortress or citadel, end of quote, carrying batteries of cannon and possessing huge destructive power. As a merchant ship, it was more variable in size, ranging from 100 tons up to a few at 500 tons or more, like the PAR, PARR, and capable of carrying 700 to 800 slaves, your ancestors. The average slave ship was the size of the first one Clarkson had seen, 200 tons, like the Fly, name of the slave ship. Not far from typical was the Eliza, another name of a slave ship, which was to be sold at public auction at the Carolina Coffee House in Charleston on May 7th, 1800. Oh, so you could go to your coffee house, like, you hang out at Starbucks. I hope many of you don't. But in any event, at a coffee house, at a coffee house, at a coffee house, they had a slave auction. Slave auction. You understand that, people? Yes, understand that, people. All right. Lying at Goyer's Wharf with, quote, all her appurtenances, end of quote, for any prospective buyer to see was the copper bottom ship of 230 tons, quote, fitted for carrying 12 guns, a remarkable fast sailor, well adapted for the West India or African trade, exceedingly well sound in stores and may be sent to sea at an easy expense. Yes, people, think about these things, okay? I don't even know I don't want to explain it. Okay, next book, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. Now, Linda Brent is going through a terrible period. All right, let me just review, especially for my new subscribers. Thank you. She's escaped slavery. And check it, Linda Brent is a house slave. Boom. She didn't even suffer what many of our ancestors suffered, picking cotton. Can you dig it? But slavery was so terrible. She had a pedophile owner who was a sick, schizophrenic doctor, medical doctor. In any event, she's hiding out right in plain sight. Okay? The father bought the children. She had 2 kids. All right? She's still hiding out. And Dr. Flint is going all over looking for her. Say, okay, he's obsessed with this girl because she didn't want to give him none. You understand what I'm saying? Yo, here we go. Okay. The doctor, more exasperated than ever again, tried to revenge himself on my relative. And you see how they do? You see how they do? Now she done run away, so now he's going to terrorize her enslaved relatives. He arrested Uncle Philip on the charge of having aided my flight. He was carried before a court and swore truly that he knew nothing of my intention to escape and that he had not seen me since I left my master's plantation. The doctor then demanded that he should give bail for $500, that he would have nothing to do with me. Several gentlemen offered to be security for him, but Mr. Sands, that's her children's father, told him he had better go back to jail and he would see that he came out without giving bail. The news of his arrest was carried to my grandmother, who conveyed it to Betty. In the kindness of her heart, she again stowed me away under the floor. This Linda is living under a plank in the floor. Okay, imagine how her body is constricted. All right, where am I? In the kindness of her heart, she again stowed me away under the floor, and as she walked back and forth in the performance of her culinary duties, this is in the kitchen, she talked apparently to herself, but with the intention that I should hear what was going on. I hoped that my uncle's imprisonment would last but a few days. Still, I was anxious. I thought it likely Dr. Flint would do utmost to taunt and insult him, and I was afraid my uncle might lose control of himself and retort in some way that would be construed into a punishable offense. What she's saying here is this: her uncle might talk back to Dr. Flint, and then he could be killed, hung, beat, whatever. Whatever white people wanted to do, they could do it. It was legal. Never got arrested. So she's hoping that her Uncle Philip will compose himself. You know, the black man, the Negro, he got to be composed. Okay, he can't speak his mind. Speak your mind, you can go to jail, be whipped, or killed. Okay. And I was well aware that in court, his word, her uncle's word, would not be taken against any white man. Do you hear this, people? Do you understand the terrible position that we were in when white people owned us? She's telling you right here. The search for me was renewed. Something had excited suspicions that I was in the vicinity. They searched the house I was in. Lord have mercy. I heard their steps and their voices. At night, when all were asleep, Betty came to release me from my place of confinement. The fright I had undergone, the constrained posture, and the dampness of the ground made me ill for several days. My uncle was soon after taken out of prison, but the movements of all my relatives and of all my friends were very closely watched. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Yes, there we go. That was enslavement. That was a form of enslavement in this country. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Ida. Y'all know Ida. Ida B. Wells. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? Okay. I hit something I should not have hit. There we go. Okay, here we go. Ida. Ida B. Wells. The reason that we even have the information that we have on the lynchings of Black people. And I'm talking about after slavery. Girlfriend was born after slavery. Her parents were enslaved. Somehow they teach her how to read and write. She's born when slavery was supposedly over, 1862. Yes. And she is a newspaper reporter. And what was she famous for? She was the only reporter that investigated the lynchings of Black men. Keep that in mind, people. She investigated it. She didn't just assumed that white people in the media were telling the truth. She started investigating lynchings when her three friends, three industrious black men, Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Henry Stewart, were lynched. And they hadn't raped no white woman, because that's what the newspapers would say. Those N-words raped a white woman. Yo! These were three businessmen who had a grocery store. And the white grocer, not far from where they were, got jealous and got his boys together and killed these brothers. That's when Ida B. Wells went investigating the true origins of lynching. Okay, here we are. On the third day of February 1893, I was back in Washington, D.C. to fill the return date. Mr. Douglas, she's talking about Fred Douglass? Yes, Mr. Douglass had requested. True to his promise, he had called together the leading women of Washington, and they filled Metropolitan Church with one of the biggest audiences I had ever seen. Mr. Douglass himself presided, and Mrs. Mary Church Terrell, another sister y'all should look up, introduced me. Mrs. Terrell was president of Bethel Literary and was just beginning her public career. She was the daughter of the Mr. Church who had shown himself a friend while I was a teacher in Memphis. Like myself, she seemed to be making a maiden speech. Mrs. Anna J. Cooper, principal of the high school, Miss Lucy Moten, head of the normal school, and most of the brilliant women of Washington aided our, quote, grand old man. That's what they called Fred Douglass by this time. That meeting ended in a blaze of glory and a donation of nearly $200 to aid the cause. The next morning, the newspapers carried the news that while our meeting was being held, there had been staged in Paris, Texas, one of the most awful lynchings and burnings this country has ever witnessed. A Negro had been charged with ravishing and murdering a 5-year-old girl. He had been arrested and imprisoned while preparations were made to burn him alive, not get him to court. Burn him alive. The local papers issued bulletins detailing the preparations. The school children had been given a holiday. Do you hear this, people? The school children had been given a holiday to see a man burned alive, and the railroads ran excursions and brought people of the surrounding country to witness the event, which was in broad daylight, with the authorities aiding and abetting this horror. The dispatches told in detail how he had been tortured with red hot irons, searing his flesh for hours before finally the flames were lit, which put an end to his agony. They also told how the mob fought, listen to this, over the hot ashes for bones, buttons, and teeth for souvenirs. Now, I got to talk about this one because it's awful. Let me get my book. Okay. Look here, people. They said this Negro, he's nameless, raped a 5-year-old. Really? Let me tell you something that you might not know about Nat Turner. One of Nat Turner's owners was a little boy, a child. The kid, I think, was either 10 or under 10. This little 5-year-old girl might have owned that black man. Okay? Okay? There's no proof that he raped her or anything terrible like that. She might have touched his arm, told her mother and father that she touched him, and they decided, well, that's rape. That's right. We gonna hang that person. Let me show you this. Can y'all see it? To your left. See the man with no hands and all? He was burned alive. He was burned alive. He was burned alive after being tortured. And you see the crowd. Yo, white people were proud of this. Yes. Did anybody go to jail? No, because it was all right to torture, to burn alive. I'm going to show you this again. I know it's horrible, but no, you got to see this. Look at the leg. The leg is chopped off. Hands gone. Now, you want to talk to me about white America? Oh, I got the proof right here. Okay? White America has been terrible to black people. Where are our black leaders? Where's our recompense? Okay, let me stop. I shall now go to Assata. Assata. That's why I'm so proud of Black and Noble for making these buttons. Assata. We must never forget. All right, where am I? There we go. 65. Here we go. Start. Da-da-da-da-da. Nope. Where the heck am I? Oh, in September, I was moved from the workhouse and entombed in the basement of the Middlesex County Jail, allegedly because of the jail's proximity to the Middlesex County Courthouse, where the New Jersey trial was scheduled to begin on October 1st. I was the first and last woman ever imprisoned there. It has always been a man's jail. They put her in a man's jail. When I arrived, I was given a dirty, scratchy horse blanket and one sheet. Thinking they had made a mistake, I asked for another sheet. That's all you get, they told me. I can't sleep with that filthy thing over me. I need another sheet. Sorry. Why am I allowed only one sheet? That's all the men get. We only give one because they might hang themselves. They can hang themselves as easily with one sheet as they can with two, I reasoned. Sorry. For me to sleep on that filthy thing with one sheet was out of the question. I hooped, hollered, and demanded they call my lawyer and told the guard that the next time she came into my cage, I was going to wrap the sheet around her neck. Finally, she gave me another sheet. If I wrote 100 pages describing the basement of the Middlesex County Jail, it would be impossible for you to visualize it. It was a big, grayish, pukey greenish cell. The ceiling was covered with all kinds of pipes, some small, some huge, some dry, some leaky. There was no natural light, and the jailers refused to open the small windows located near the ceiling. The average temperature was 95 degrees. It was infested with ants and centipedes. I had never seen a centipede before, and they scared me to death. They were huge albino monsters, and they crawled all over me. Female guards were stationed at the door of my cell 24 hours a day. Their job was to sit there and look in the cell at me. They could see every move I made. The first day, I moved the bed against the wall, away from the guard's surveillance, so that I could have a little privacy while I was sleeping. The guards ordered me to move the bed into the middle of the floor. I refused. The next day, workmen nailed the bed to the floor in the center of the cell. They even peeked through the window in the bathroom when I was on the toilet or taking a shower. When I covered the peephole with a towel or a uniform, they ordered me to remove it and threatened to take away all towels and uniforms if I continued covering the window. I didn't refuse, I simply ignored them. After a while, they gave up. A month later, one of the sergeants told me that I was permitted to cover the window when I used the bathroom, but only for 3 minutes. Now you want to listen. Look here. Is it necessary to torture people just because they're in prison? Is that really necessary? Is that the kind of world you folks want? Huh? Is that the kind of world you want where there's wars everywhere, where America and Iran and America and Ukraine and America and Israel? Is that the world that you want? Huh? Has there been any recompense for the misery, for the trauma, for the horror of enslavement and segregation and discrimination that Black people have endured in this country? Talk to me. Has there? Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Yes, I haven't seen that. Let me bring that up. The 5-year-old that was alive. They are protecting or projecting their Yes. Listen here. Little 5-year-old Black girls were sold into slavery. Little 5-year-old or 10-year-old Black girls were raffled. If you all who have been with me for a while, when I read Blake or the Huts of America, they were raffling off a kid, a Black kid. Okay, so what do you think they did with this one? Okay, and then they're gonna hang, burn alive a Black man. Okay, who's this? Let me see. I got another comment. Are you? Yes, I'm an orphan. Now let me try to say your name. Uh-huh. All right, you'll let me know. Wait, is that Ahmed Little? Anyway, of course, go to my website, apanthersister.com, apanthersister.com, apanthersister.com. I got, and all my books are just like you hear me reading now. I ain't playing. I want my people to know their history because they're not even teaching your correct history in colleges and universities. I know. I'm Dr. Regina Jennings. Okay? Never forget that. Now, let me move this. And let me mention to you again, you see the banner going across? Look, this is the month of Malcolm. My book is buried too much and I'm out of time. This is the month of Malcolm. May is the month of Malcolm. What are you doing to keep Malcolm's memory alive? Let me go here. Let me show you. A Malcolm moment. What are you doing to keep Malcolm's memory alive, Black people? I need you to really think about that. We got a whole month. I've already talked about getting your children involved in Malcolm's memory, grandchildren, friends. Look, we got a whole month. Celebrate it. Okay? You don't have to be a cookie cutter cutout of what white America wants you to be. Malcolm was one of the baddest brothers that ever walked this earth. You know that. So celebrate him in any way that you think is cool with yourself and your family. All right. Here we go. And again, I want you to remember what was done to Assata. I want you to think about the prison system in this country. I want you to think about your relationship to the African continent, even though you're here in America. And I want you to really be thinking about how we can create a culture of success for our people, not American people, for Black people. That is important because those of us who are Black and have been sent to earth at this time, we have a special mandate to fulfill. You know, I love you dearly. You know that I pray for you every night and every day. Yes, I do. All right. I want you to be strong. I want you to be courageous. I want you to be a thinker. This is why I read books, because books will help your intellectualism grow. That has been scientifically proved. Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm going to be signing off now, but I will see you this coming Thursday at 2 o'clock, right? Oh, yeah, this is May 12th. I keep forgetting to say the date. May 12th, 2026. So I'll see you in a couple of days. And in the meantime, in between time, do something good for yourself, do something good for your people, do something good to bring Malcolm's memory back to earth. Bye now.